Welcome to Featured Artists Live, a weekly show to discuss and listen to your music. With help from my other YouTuber buddies, we hope to give you words of encouragement, guidance, or simply just enjoy your wonderful creations. I'd like to thank our sponsor, DistroKid, all of the wonderful artists, and all of you for watching. Now, let's get on with the show. Hi folks, I'm Mike and I hope you are welcome to this kind of special edition of Featured Artists Live, or should I say semi-live. We'll get on to that later. First of all, before we do get going, I want to say a thank you to the show's sponsor. That's DistroKid, and if you follow the link in the description, this one just up here which I'm pointing to, that VIP link there, if you follow that link you will get 7% off of their services. I get a small cut for that, but it's at no extra cost to you. And really, DistroKid is an awesome value for money proposition if you want to release your music too. We'll talk about DistroKid a little bit later on. As I say, this is kind of a special show, and because it's a special show, I really need help from the people who are in the chat right now. If you are in the chat, pay attention because I really do need you to take part in this show for a very special reason. And by the way, thank you for being here, and do make sure you hit the like button on the video right away. It tells other people to come along and join the fun. Now, if you're not familiar with this show and the concept of it, we play 3 pieces of music from the community, and generally, I've picked these pieces because they've got something positive and good about them, but we also offer a little critique for things that we think could be improved with the artist mixing or songwriting or whatever. Now, I say we. This week, it's just me. I am going to be both the host and the guest. I haven't really listened to these songs extensively before I picked them. I just listened to them briefly on my phone without proper headphones or anything on. So I will be kind of live to this and giving my true sort of initial reactions to the pieces of music. And by the way, if you want to submit your own music to this show to have it appraised by myself and my usually wonderful guests, then please do follow the link in the description down below, and you can find a form there to submit your music. Now, all of the songs on today's show actually didn't come via that form. I handpicked them from my Facebook Cakewalk group. I'll put a link for that in the description if you're not already a member. It's highly unlikely, but if you're not a member of that Cakewalk group, then go ahead and join. And just once in a while, for some weeks, I'll just ask people to show me their music, and if I think some of them are really worth playing on the show, then I pick some. So all 3 of those songs came from that Facebook group this particular week. Now, why is this show special? Why is it semi-live? Well, me here, I'm not actually with you live at the moment. I am taking a break with my family. I've gone to a place called Jurien Bay in Western Australia. Here, I've got a little little preview so you can see where I am. Let's just pull that up. Jurien Bay, this is where I am. Look how happy these people look, hey, in this photo. I should be that happy right now. It looks like a lovely place. I'm going there for some swimming, fishing, some family fun, and just to relax. So I've pre-recorded this show, but, oh look, there's some old pier pylons to explore there, and oh, a seal. I hope I get to see seals. I hope this is Australia. There could be killer seals, couldn't there? I hope I haven't been mauled by a killer seal. Anyway, I am here. I'm saying semi-live because internet permitting, and I think it should be fine, I will be live in the chat, even though I've sort of pre-recorded this show. And if I am live there in the chat, please say hi to me. I'll say hi back. And this brings me to why, if you're in the chat live, why I need your participation. Normally, I would have guests on the show with me, and they would give me their feedback on the quality of the mix, on the quality of the songwriting, some cases of performance. I don't have them here with me this week, unfortunately, sad face. But guys in the chat live there, you can do that for me. So please do that, and let's talk about what we think about this music as we listen. As I say, I pick these songs for all kinds of different reasons, to be honest with you. Sometimes it's because I just think the song is great, and sometimes it's because I think everything is great. But sometimes it'll be, hey, the song is great, but maybe the mix could be improved, or the mix is great, or sometimes it's just because it's someone's first attempt. And I want to give them encouragement, all that kind of stuff. The first song that I've got up for you today is actually got a little bit of an interesting kind of backstory, because it's based upon a true story. The song is from a group called Mark 71, and the song's called Tokyo Rose. And the backstory is, and I'll just read it out, the story is based on a true story from World War II. She was an American broadcaster that had radio shows in Japan for the US troops. When she returned to the US after the war, she was arrested and put in prison for 7 years. Eventually, she was pardoned by the president in 1977. I'm not quite sure why she was arrested, but look, I'll hit Wikipedia later. Maybe we can all do that. But I always like it's nice that people write music about things other than just relationships. And unfortunately, look, I'm going to show my bias here. There's way too many songs about people owning cars or owning, or you know what I mean. So I'm not into that. It's nice that people are still using like historical stories and things to write about things. I think it's really interesting. So big ticks there for writing about something interesting that makes me want to learn about it. Now, the only virtual instruments used in this recording were some drums. Those are Easy Drummer. And the interface used was a Steinberg UR22C, a really good budget interface. I haven't used it. I say good. I haven't used it personally. I really should do, but a number of my friends use it, and we've had a number of people on this show who have used it. Like I say, kind of a sort of a budget interface. It's just a small interface with just a few features. Seems to get the job done, though. The guitars and bass will run through Amplitude 3. So quite an old version of Amplitude happening there. And they use some different amp sims. Interestingly, I think here they've used different sounds for the left and the right on the guitars, which I think is, if you've seen my video about doubling, if you haven't looked that up, but it's a really good idea when you're doubling guitars to actually have different sounds on the left and right. Can make it sound even wider, so that's really good. Use an old Yamaha keyboard, some internal sounds for that. No MIDI, so they must have just recorded it. And the mic they used for the vocals was an ADK Model S. So as I say, I haven't really given this an extensive listen, so I'm going to be listening with you kind of for the first time. Let's see what we think about this song from Mark 71, and as I say, it's called Tokyo Rose.
Tell us who to fight, never taunted
Okay, wow, what a great start to the show. High energy. I like that very, very much. I've made some notes while I've been doing this because normally with the real, fully live shows, I'm doing so many different things at once, it's hard for me to make notes, but I have made some notes here, so hopefully I can give some valuable input. I just want to say quickly that if you're a Spotify user, there is a Spotify link for this song in the description down below. Add it to your playlist and show them some support is what I guess I would say to you here. So what are my impressions of this? Well, first of all, just overall, I enjoyed the energy of this very, very much. It's hard, isn't it, for all of us when you're recording in a sterile environment. You're not actually there with the band in the room. You're multi-tracking, just a little interface, the Steinberg one there, using, guitar amp sims and all this kind of stuff. It's hard to get that kind of energy of a live band. I think that Mark 71 have mostly done a really, really good job of that. We'll get into that in a moment. But so, the vibe of this was good. Just really, really good, high energy, very sort of 80s stroke early 90s rock, very commercial in that sense. I mean, a really great hook. We talked about this on last week's show. It's something I want to bring up a little bit more. I think for all of us, when it's not always important to have a hook. Some pieces of music are not about that. But if you're looking for this kind of music, is there just something that in there which people are going to remember? If they've heard it for the first time, like, I kind of have just here, 2-3 minutes later, are they going to repeat that chorus vocal line? So for me, yes, very much that ticks the box there. It's good writing in that way. And for this type of music, I was really, really pleased that I could hear the lyrics really, really well. I wanted to hear that story a little bit that they had. So I was kind of thinking, and often with this kind of music, it's hard to hear the lyrics. They get buried under all that sort of wall of guitars and things. But that wasn't the case. The vocals are very, very clear on this. I'm not familiar with that mic. You use the ADK Model S, but, that and your skill is making sure the vocals come across really clear. Good vocals and really great harmonies. The harmonies really, really helped this song a lot. Just made it sound really, really nice. A couple of things, or just one other sort of positive, I suppose. The middle section, or there were sort of two breaks in this. The first break was just a delight. It took me by surprise. I really like to hear at least one decent-sized surprise in every piece of music. It doesn't have to be like wow, but it could be just a great lyric, or it could be just a different melody to where you expect it to go, something like that. This was just the whole arrangement side of this. It just took me by surprise. It was really nice mix-up, nice break in there. I did think in terms of the mix that the bass guitar could just be up a little bit to just grab a little bit more warmth to it. But look, I'm sort of reaching for things to criticize when I say that. But yeah, if I was going to do anything, I'd just be nudging the bass up a little. It's a bit hard with bass. If you're not in a good mixing environment with a well-treated room with decent monitors, bass can be the hardest thing to actually judge whether you've got it in the right place or not. So, but that would be my suggestion there. Now, there was another break, like I say. I wasn't quite sure what was happening with that. It was like a synth stroke, maybe I think a synth trying to be strings or something. Look, for me personally, it's just a personal take on it. That break felt really out of place in a slightly jarring way. Like, I think it was because the synth sound itself just wasn't a great sound, and it was a little too loud for my taste. But look, I know you guys released this song already, so it's out there. This happens, and it's only my personal opinion. But in the future, if you're going to do that kind of thing, I'd really take a little time to get just a better quality. I mean, it's subjective, but I think you could do with a better quality synth sound in there. But really, clutching at straws here for criticism. I loved the energy of this song. I say this a lot. It's not really exactly the type of music that I would really listen to, but it won me over within the first few bars. It was just a lot of fun to listen to. So well done, Mark 71. I know this is just the second song that you've ever recorded in Cakewalk, so that's amazing. Oh, by the way, as well, I didn't have this in my notes. I'm not a big fan of Easy Drummer. Whenever people say they'd used Easy Drummer, I'm always like, Really? Okay. Is this going to be good? That was a good. That was good. You did some good programming on the drums there, some really nice fills and all that. So I don't think the drums were really a problem. They pumped along quite nicely for me. Anyway, at least in these headphones. So again, thank you so much. Now, if you are releasing music like Mark 71 have here, as I say, they've got this on Spotify, and you've never done that before, and maybe to you, you think, oh, that's going to be such a difficult thing to do, a whole new thing to learn. How do you release your music to, iTunes and Spotify and Amazon Music? You probably think you have to create loads and loads of accounts and things. You don't. It's much, much easier than that. You just create one account. That would be with my sponsor, DistroKid. They charge $19.99 per year to release as much material as you want. And as long as it's your own material, there's no extra charges. Now, if you release covers, there's some extra charges, but it's still very, very reasonable. Just so you know, let's just hear a little bit about the process of actually getting your music up to DistroKid now. If you want to release your music via DistroKid, there's just a couple of things you need. First of all, the music itself. Here's mine in my DAW Cakewalk, and I'm exporting it to an uncompressed WAV file for best results. Now, the other thing you'll need is some artwork. I just grabbed an old photo which I'd taken on the beach, chucked on some text here, and that's what I call art. Then I went over to DistroKid, and I just have to fill in this extra easy form. It's a no-brainer form. You get helped all the way through with little hints and things. You can't really do anything wrong. You just go ahead and confirm a few things about your music, and then you just have to actually upload the artwork and the song itself, and DistroKid takes care of the rest. It's going to send it out to all of the best platforms so that people can hear and buy your music. So make sure you follow that link just up above. It's in the link. It's in the description down below, so you can join DistroKid there and release your music, as I say, as Mark 71 did there. Now, I'm always inspired by the fact that you guys, and many of you, create some really great music using not using loads and loads of gear. A lot of people make great music, better music than me, on a lot less gear than I have, so it's kind of inspiring. I'm in a slightly unique situation. I obviously get sent gear and stuff by suppliers. They asking me to review it and what have you, but I really do. So you may look at pictures of my studio and think I've got lots of gear, but I wouldn't necessarily have this amount of gear by choice. I think you can actually make great music using a lot less gear, and proof of that is the next one we have up. This is a Dawn Over Zero, a song called Detonate here. This was recording using Cakewalk, using the Wave CLA suite for guitars and different effects there. Well regarded suite there, CLA, and some just really good quick results you can get from CLA plugins, just like the presets are very, very good in that. So I have used them a little bit in the past and enjoyed them. Now, using a PV6505 amp, mic'd up with an SM57, just DI'd that. Look, it's an often used formula, an SM57 on a guitar amp. It works, and SM57s are just very inexpensive microphones. They last for decades. They're built like tanks. You can throw them around. Don't throw them around. Don't do that. But if you drop them, they last forever. But they're built really well, and they just seem to work really, really well on guitar amps. You just play around with the position and that kind of thing, and you can get some great results. I do also personally like to blend them with a condenser mic. You don't have to have a particular condenser mic. I mean, there's a few that people prefer in Pro Studios, but really, if you've just got something like, I don't know, say something like a Rode NT1A, something I commonly recommend, or indeed something that the Dawn Over Zero used for their vocals. They used an AT 2020, an Audio Technica 2020. That could be used in conjunction with the SM57. You'll find if you just have that choice, if you use a condenser and the SM57 and you blend them together, you can get just a really nice range of different tones, depending on what you want for the song. So yeah, definitely, if you don't just use an SM57, it's always worth recording with a condenser as well, even if you don't end up actually using the condenser source and you just stick with the SM57. But yeah. Now, moving on from there, not too much information on this one. For the mastering, an SSL bus compressor was used on the master, and a studio tape plugin for warmth on the master as well. So now there is a bit of a quote for this song, which I'm going to read out from the artist. Again, I just love it when songs have some kind of meaning behind them, which is beyond just the usual kind of subject of songs, and this is what the artist had to say about this. This song is about mindfulness. Our society is guilty of using social media to pedestal ourselves and sensationalize to the point of harm. Always looking for explosive reaction, never worrying about the effect. Watch what you post. Future generations are watching. Be mindful, be considerate, be love. What a great sort of message to have there. I endorse that message. Thanks, Dawn Over Zero. Let's have a listen to this song, Detonate.
We're judged by our new things in turn. We're folding our regularities. Exceptional spending, so out of touch, no salary. As high as what we need to feel ahead and now. The way we make is just like the headspace we take. Dumbing ourselves down all around. The data flows electric insanity. Resist the place of our shameful breakdowns, washing red downs, feed us slowly. You won't get farther than me. Just let me show you one click to detonate. Feel surreal emotion. Tell us and we'll hear. Tell us do this and do that. Feel this and feel that. Be this and be that. You need this and need that. Bring this and bring that. Until we have nothing left to give. Until we have nothing else to give. You can't touch me. Morning instructions. Comatose random lyrics. Sit down and turn it on. Heads off and write down. And now watch the world explode around us. One big meltdown, all breaks down now. Let us do our worst. You can't get farther than me. Just let me own you. One click to detonate. We detonate.
Wow, that that kind of blew me away. As I said at the beginning, I haven't listened to these songs fully. I kind of listened to the beginning of them and on my phone a little bit, not listening to the full mix. I'm taking notes for this. I was just frantically trying to write as many notes as I could because there's so much to say about this. First of all, it entirely defies the equipment list I'm seeing here in front of me. As I say, just recorded using Cakewalk, using the Wave CLL suite, the equipment that I talked about before. Not a whole load of equipment, but bang, there was all of this impact from this piece of music. Before I talk in detail about some of the things I noted down here, I want to say that what was occurring to me very much towards the end is how well mastered this song was. And I should mention as well, because the artist did inform me, this was mastered by, not by the artist, but by Rick Del Castello. I'm not familiar with Rick's work, but has obviously mastered things for Star Wars, for Willie Nelson. By the looks of it, I'll look that up afterwards, but according to the artist, that's the case. But yeah, I definitely felt like it was a good mix. I'll talk about a couple of things with the mix later, but this mix could be let down by not being mastered. It had just so much power and impact, like this wall of sound in there, which I absolutely loved very, very much. In a little bit more detail, it was a great start. So the start, it was just sort of straight in there, which I don't always advocate. I think sometimes we pander too much to the perceived short attention spans of our listeners. I like songs which have a little bit of an intro and a little bit of a build-up. I don't mind that still. But in this case, it just really worked the way it just crashed straight in there. No fuss. Fantastic rhythm to it, and a really nice chord progression with a little surprise chord there in one little bit. I'm not skilled enough to identify what that chord was with my listening off the bat, but really, really nice. Just took me by surprise. Seemed to cross genres a little bit as well. At the beginning, it seemed much more kind of like a pop rock kind of thing, but then it got much heavier in places with some much more experimental rhythms going on the drums, that kind of thing as well. So I liked that. I liked that change up in it. Now, right at the beginning, like the vocals were good. Now, I know this was a lyrics video. I wasn't looking at it because I was kind of too busy listening and making notes. And kind of what happened for me there was I felt that the vocals were really well in the mix at the beginning. There was a point where the drums came in, and the drums were really good, by the way. Very, very good. I just love the sound of the snare. But at that point, in my personal opinion, especially because there's a really interesting message being talked about in this song, the vocals could have just lifted up just a bit. Okay, just a bit. Well, they weren't completely drowned. Like I could still kind of hear them. But if I could remix it, then I'd just nudge those vocals up a little bit after those drums come in. But great performance, by the way, from every part of it. The drums especially were kicking for me. The vocals were very, very good. And we're just going to talk about surprises again, aren't we? Because the surprise of the break, there's some great use of panning in the break. It was just there, and it made use of this sudden space as well. For something that was very thick in sound, there was this sudden use of space. Very, very dynamic. I know I'm here and I'm supposed to be sort of coming up with useful, constructive criticism. In other words, some slightly more negative stuff to talk about. There isn't much negative to talk about with this. I think if you're just starting out and you're using Cakewalk and you've probably just got one microphone or a couple of microphones, and as I say, the AT2020 is a very inexpensive condenser microphone, but people do get great results from it, and the SM57 is inexpensive. And I think the guitar effects there, the Boss GT Pro, look, nothing overly expensive was used in this, but this would stand up there with the most commercial of songs out there. So if you're just starting out, I think you should use something like this as inspiration. But do understand that I don't think there's been a lot of luck involved here. I can hear that someone knew what they were doing along the way here, or at least had really great intuition. There is, you're not just going to make magic like this happen just with a little amount of gear and just, start using Cakewalk for the first time and get a great result like this. It does take work, understanding, improving your skill sets and that, but it's achievable, and I think this is a great example of that. I can't really personally come up with many negative things to say. Let me know what you think in the comments, of course, in the live chat and in the replay of this show. If you're watching the replay, let me know. Am I right there, or could you find a few more things to criticize about this song, or is it simply a great example of what you can do in this day and age? Now, being able to create good music is one thing, and it's the part which most of us focus on, but getting your music noticed is a completely different skill set. I am no expert on that whatsoever. I essentially don't even try to promote my own music because I just enjoy the creative process of making it. But DistroKid, the sponsor, do have some great tools which enable you to help your songs to get on playlists on Spotify. And that's a really important part of promoting your music these days, getting it heard, is getting on some big playlists. So let's look at one of the fun things they do, something called the Wheel of Playlist. And this is just one way that you can. One of the ways to actually get your music heard on Spotify is to get onto a playlist. Now, DistroKid offers a really fun way to get onto one of their playlists with their Wheel of Playlist feature. Simply head over to your DistroKid account, go to the top right where it says Goodies, then go down to Wheel of Playlist, and then you start off simply by selecting a song, something you've already released, and then click on Connect with Spotify. Now, obviously, the further up a playlist you get, the more likely people are to actually hear your music and enjoy it. So what DistroKid do here with this feature is they give you 3 chances to spin a wheel, a kind of a wheel of fortune type of thing going on here. Now, the best result of those 3 spins determines your number in the playlist. And as I say, the higher up you are, the better. So on this occasion, I achieved 1,088. You can try every day if you like. So maybe that's something you'd like to do to actually get your music in a playlist on Spotify. Now, when it comes to actually appearing on this show, as I say, or having your music on the show, as I say, you can follow the link in the description to submit your music. Now, usually once I have contacted an artist and decided that their music will be featured on the show, then I usually, although they may have given me some information about the track, I usually follow up with them and try and get a little bit more information about the gear they use, the process, the plugins they use, all that kind of thing. This is a pre-recorded show, and I've only just done a show for me about 12 hours ago. So I've had a crazy week. The reason I'm telling you this story is to apologize in advance for what's about to happen, because normally there's quite a few days pass and artists submit their information to me. I unfortunately, with this artist, asked them for information but it's not their fault. I didn't impress upon them that I was pre-recording this show, so there wasn't much time available. So unfortunately, we haven't had enough time to get more information on this piece of music which is coming out, which is a bit of a shame, actually, because I would like to know much more about the recording process for this piece of music. But I really wanted to feature it because it's something a little bit different to what we normally have. If the artists who are lost in Rio, they're not lost in Rio, that's the name of the artist, they're lost in Rio. If they are in the live chat, then please do give us some information about which kind of gear you use, what interface you use, which plugins you use, that kind of thing, and then hopefully we can all chat about that in the live chat when this show actually goes out. But anyway, the song is called A Little Piece of Heaven. It's by, as I say, the group's name is called Lost in Rio. I found it in the Cakewalk user group, so I'm going to assume that they used Cakewalk to record this piece of music. I'm going to tell you up front, I don't think we've ever had a piece of kind of disco on the show before, and I was quite happy to do it because when I was becoming aware of music when I was about 8 or 9 years old, and I really became aware, it was at the height of the disco period, the late 70s. So I did come across a few singles at that time, and 12 inches, and often they were instrumentals and things. And so at an early age, I did enjoy myself a little bit of disco. I don't mind telling you. And I don't mind hearing it. I wouldn't get up on a dance floor, don't get me wrong. I wouldn't be doing that. That would put people off of music, but there's something about it. It's just a great form of music which I really, really enjoy. I've never tried to produce anything. I probably will never. I imagine it's not as easy as it may appear. Anyway, now the band are actually not from a place we associate with disco, in my mind anyway. They were formed in 2015 and they come from the Scottish Highlands. Okay, I can tell you just by googling around about this that they do play live, so they're not just like a studio band. The lyrics are by, I hope I pronounced names correctly here, Tamsin Alison Power, and the music is by Anthony Standing, Neil Sharkey, Andy Pierce, and I'm sorry for mispronouncing your name in advance, Rurid McKay. I hope I got that correct because it's an awesome name, actually. So let's have a listen to this piece of music to finish off the show. As I say, it's called A Little Piece of Heaven, and it's from Lost in Rio.
Takes control in the greatest kind of way.
Wow. Now, I've always got a lot to say, but I've got a lot to say about this. Before I talk about the song specifically, I'm going to tell you like a little story and a little bit of backstory about this channel. And it does relate to the song, I promise. And something I've been practicing in the last few months. I just want to tell you quickly about this because it applies to all creativity. When I'm making videos for this channel now, and when I'm planning the videos, and sometimes I do a little rough kind of script and things, right at the top of that piece of paper or on the screen in Word or what have you, I set some goals. And they're goals about how I want the viewer to feel when they watch one of my videos. And often it will be things like, say, I do a cakewalk tutorial, and I hope that the person feels, I really understood what you were trying to show me there. So in other words, I set some targets for the video right off the bat. Even before I start planning the video specifics, I do that. The reason I say that, by the way, if you haven't done that for your creativity, whether obviously you all make music, you try that. It's a really great motivator, and it helps to keep you focused on the goal of what you're doing. Yeah. So if you wrote a song which has a specific story about it, say like the ones we'll take an example earlier about Tokyo Rose, for example, like one of the earlier songs, and you think of that goal. I want to tell people that story about that lady who was sent to prison after the Second World War. Okay, that keeps you really focused for the whole process, right? When you have those goals. The reason I say this is because this song that we just listened to, "A Little Piece of Heaven" from Lost in Rio, if they've at all practiced that kind of thing, then the goal would have been right at the top of their page, make people want to dance. That's what this did. I'm sure that's what their goal is. Disco, after all. And my God, my foot was tapping just right away, like 1 or 2 beats in. It was there. It didn't stop all the way through. And it's good to write music which has a purpose. All different kinds of music has a different kind of purpose. Maybe you write music for a piece of film and you want to enhance the emotion of the visuals on there, and that's your goal, right? To do that, or whatever it is. Then it's really good to have those kind of goals and stay focused. So that's what this did for me. It did its job. As Ricky T. Brown, if he was on the show, he would say, this piece of music did its job, Mike. And he'd be right if he said that. The vocals, really a great vocal performances for this kind of music. This kind of music is not about vocal athletics and stuff. It's not about necessarily like lots of sensitivity, but it's about energy. So it was clear, it was thick sounding, and I just sensed a little bit of doubles happening here and there on the kind of bridge sections and things. Obviously, we talk about that a lot. If you don't know, it's just a really great thing when you come to, say, certain parts of a song where you want the power of the vocal to lift a bit, to do doubles, but you don't want them to be too obvious often. Sometimes they can be, but it's often they're just there, but they're just adding something. There was a little bit of that happening there. It was working really, really well. The percussion was great. The percussion here, a lot of the time, was really sort of driving the song. So I'm not exactly sure what kind of drums we used on the percussion, some kind of toms or congas or whatever, but really was driving the rhythm, which is obviously an important part of this. There was a really nice break in the middle, not sort of in the middle towards the end, but an instrumental break. I liked the way that, unless it was because I hadn't detected it before, but the flavour of the music seemed to stay just slightly twist at that point, and it became much more Latin American. Okay, there was still a lot of the same instruments there. I think there was the whistles being blown and things and that, but it was just a nice twist. Before that, it was just like disco for me, but then I've got a little bit of Rio happening there, so that was cool. I liked that, and if that was intentional, then definitely you did your job there. And it was I was waiting for it to come back to that chorus hook as well. Da 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 da. See, it's been a couple of minutes since I heard this piece of music, but I can remember that melody. I'm going to keep talking about this with this type of music, not with all types of music, but with this type of music, you really want a hook, and this had a hook in there happening. I'm absolutely certain this could be played in dance floors around the world, and people would absolutely be dancing along with this with joy in their hearts. So a good job there. Now, if I'm going to play devil's advocate and find anything whatsoever which I thought could improve about this piece of music. Look, maybe the bass could have a little bit more punch to it. I didn't actually write that in my notes, but that's a bit of a taste. The rhythm guitars in this, that sort of funk style of playing rhythm guitars, those high pitched chords with a lot of sort of vamping and things going on there, are a really important part of this kind of music. I thought it was a good performance from the rhythm guitar. It was doing all the right things. I just felt it could be a little bit brighter, just a tad brighter. Okay, so not on the very high, not on the airy section, but those high mids, maybe just mids to high mids, just could have poked through a little bit more. It was just a little sort of soft sounding for me in tone. That could be a personal preference thing. If I was remixing the song, then that's what I would have done with that guitar, but really doesn't make any difference. It's a great song, great piece of music, and a great example of what you can achieve these days, with sort of home recording, if you like. So thank you so much to Lost in Rio for submitting that song. It's been lovely to have a Scottish disco song on the show. I don't know if that will ever happen again. But let me know what you think in the comments down below about all the comments I've made. Feel free to disagree with me if you wish. You in the comments are my other guests, and if you're watching on the replay, then please do let me know what you think as well. It's sort of really valuable and sort of informative and educational for me as well when I hear your feedback, because often you spot things that I haven't been able to spot, which is why I like to normally have guests on the show. And I will be resuming to the usual routine next week on this show, where I will have guests and I will be here fully live. But for now, thank you so much for joining me while I'm on holiday. Hopefully I come back in one piece without having been attacked by a killer seal here in Australia. I'll all be in one piece and I can join you again. Very much looking forward to 2022. Got many plans for the channel. So this is going to be my last kind of holiday before I really get stuck in and drive forward with a few really important things for Creative Source. So again, thank you so much for being here. Take care of yourself. Thank you for your input. If you've been there in the live chat, it's always very much appreciated. Don't forget to follow the links in the description down below for all of the artists especially. Remember, it's really important that we don't get too egocentric, only thinking about our own music. Support the community, support the artists in the community as well. And